Hi, I'm Laura Woods and I'm a sports presenter. Passion for sport for me started when I was very, very young. I think it's just something that my mum threw me and my brothers into all the time to get us to get out the house. And we just had so much energy. My mum had like 3 kids in 4 years. She was like busy. She needed to find a way to get us to make loads of friends, stay out the house, keep busy. And it was just, it was our happy place when we were younger. I actually started running, so I was a production junior. I applied for work experience first of all on Soccer AM, and I just loved it. I wanted to be a writer, so I studied journalism at university, and I went and did work experience in the Croydon Advertiser. But there was something about telly that I really loved. I just felt there was like this magical thing about it. So as soon as I got my work experience, I walked in and I was like, it was just like a world of colour in comparison. So that's where the love affair with telly began. Gender disparity is a really interesting one for me at the moment. We've just finished the Women's World Cup and it was just amazing. And the viewing figures were massive, but I expected that anyway because the Lionesses won the Euros last year. And in Australia, the semi-final between Australia and England was the most viewed telly event they have ever had. That one blew my mind. That's how football can travel. So in terms of the level of interest, it is rising, but it's really juxtaposed against this unbelievably narrow-minded attitude that is still at the very top of football. You had Gianni Infantino talking about how women, if they want a more level playing field and the same kind of rights and the same kind of pay and the same kind of facilities, they have to come and tell the men how to do it. It's exhausting because it shouldn't always have to be like that. It should be level in the first place. So I think even if people have good intention, the attitudes are still very different. The funding is wildly different. We had national teams at the World Cup crowdfunding to pay for their flights to get to Australia to compete in the World Cup and represent their country. And that for me was like a wow, like a real slap in the face reminder that it's nowhere near level. My career highlights so far, the last 6 to 8 months have been pretty mega. So the World Cup final for men's in Qatar, watching Messi lift the World Cup, that game was one of the best games of football I've ever seen between Argentina and France. And you had like Lionel Messi and you had Kylian Mbappe, and I don't think you could have scripted a better final. So to be there in person and watch it and work on it was just like, at the time, that was the pinnacle. And then the Women's World Cup final, which although I wasn't there was something very emotional about being involved in that tournament from start to finish. And we just got to see so many wonderful human interest stories and player stories of things that they've had to overcome. And even though the Lionesses didn't win, I could see it for the bigger picture of women's football in general. The difference between this World Cup and the last one, the standard was just, oh my God, so like worlds apart. I think for women and girls working in this industry, I always remember one of the first pieces of advice I was ever told was a producer, and he had heard that I wanted to be a presenter. And back then there was a real, oh, you want to be a presenter? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he said, one piece of advice is for women, you have a much higher height to fall from. So you have to be better. And it stuck in my head at the time because I was like, why? That's really unfair. But it is unfair and it's not level playing field yet. And the thing that I took from that is, okay, I will be better. I'll go work harder and I'll do all of my research. What it actually did for me was it just made me a very good professional. So I would say to anyone getting into the field, it's going to be really difficult because it's very competitive, but you have to back that you're going to do all of your homework and you're going to have your own ways of doing things and not try to replicate what somebody else is doing because it just doesn't work. And also, don't be disheartened if you're really bad at it to begin with, because everybody is with presenting. It's so unnatural, and your job is to make the unnatural look natural. And that's hard, and that just takes practice, and you will fail, and it will be excruciatingly embarrassing, especially if it's on camera. But guess what? You're never going to do that again. Women's sports in 10 years, just by the comparison of where it's gone, even in the last 2 years. I started working on the Lionesses Games with ITV 2 years ago, and we did a game at St Mary's and the gate was 8,000. We actually had to close off some of the stands and we had to make sure that our cameras didn't face those stands as much as possible. And 2 years later, the Lionesses sold out Wembley, and it was for the Filamissa, and basically they played Brazil and they beat Brazil, and it was just honestly the most wonderful experience. And just comparing the two different events, that's how you can kind of really gauge growth. And watching them at the World Cup as well and seeing the level of interest and the fact that boys and girls are looking at these sportswomen as superstars and they don't really care what the gender is. Leah Williamson said something about that. She was like, if you don't want to get behind it, fine, but this is going to explode. Like women's football in a few years' time is just going to be everywhere, and I am all for it. My favourite Karen Millen pieces are probably the ones that I can wear to dressy events. So like I've got this tan box dress almost with buttons down the front. I wore it to Cheltenham for horse racing. And it is a very sophisticated piece and it made me feel very sophisticated. So I think if you have confidence in what you're wearing, it does definitely come through in how you're feeling. Like I actually am really obsessed with this outfit now too, because I love cords. I really love like anything that's sort of matching top and bottom, but it doesn't even have to be a jumpsuit. The actual separates I really like. I think the reason I would go to Karen Millen is because you know that the quality is going to be great, so you know you're going to feel confident in it, and you know you're going to feel quite secure in it as well. So I think it kind of like, yeah, it massively affects my mood. It's a confidence thing, isn't it? If you've got confidence in what you're wearing, then it transforms how you're feeling. My power woman, when I was younger, was Gabby Logan. And now I've grown up and I'm an adult, she is still my power woman. I just watch everything she does and I just think she does it with such class and ease. And there is something really normal about Gabby that is very rare, I think, in lots of presenters, in that she has this authority. You wouldn't mess with her, but you also would go down the pub and have a pint with her and feel really comfortable in her presence.